I'm not moved. I'm not moved. We're not going to disrespect Mike McCarthy by using the word disgust. He doesn't deserve that. He's been a damn good coach in the National Football League. He's won 57, he's won 61% of his games. He's won a Super Bowl championship. He's coached his team to numerous berths to the NFC Championship game when he was with Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers as his coach. The problem is a few things. Number one, Mike McCarthy departed 2018 or so. And if you remember when he departed, there was talk about how his offense was a bit archaic. It was talked about Aaron Rodgers ignoring his plays, audibling at the line of scrimmage, etc. And essentially, the relationship was considered somewhat toxic because, according to the reports, Aaron Rodgers considered the play calling, quote unquote, low IQ. So that was problematic. He ends up losing his job in Green Bay. He ends up getting the job in Dallas. And they had some successful times in his 5 years there. Back to back to back 12 win plus seasons, no doubt. But never got to a conference finals. Never got to the NFC Championship game with Dak Prescott as your quarterback. So my point is, you've coached Green Bay, you've coached Dallas. Now we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. If Aaron Rodgers had lost faith in you, even though y'all relationship is pretty good now, and Dak Prescott was somebody that you couldn't get over the, you couldn't get him over the hump. Why the hell should the Pittsburgh Steelers believe in you? Meaning Steeler Nation. I mean, this is a lateral move. And then, he's 62. Ladies and gentlemen, they found Chuck Noll in his 30s. He was there for 23 years. They found Bill Cowher at age 35. He was there for 15 years. They found Mike Tomlin there at age 35. He was there for 19 years. I mean, come on. I'm looking at that and I'm saying to myself, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. That's 57 years they've had 3 coaches. In 57 years, catching them all in their 30s, building around them, having them as staples of the community, and you give us Mike McCarthy? Mike McCarthy. You ain't been in the Super Bowl since 2010. You had Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. You couldn't get over the hump with them. We don't know what the hell's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers, whether he's going to continue to play at the age of 42. He turns 43 in December. Or whether or not he's going to do so, he's going to retire. And then to listen to the message from Art Rooney II, who basically is the chairman since 2017. He was the president before that, even though Dan Rooney was running the show as the chairman. I mean, there's nothing to write home about. But I felt that the quotes from Art Rooney II were egregious. I mean, did you see his quotes? I'm paraphrasing here. We ain't worried about what people are thinking and what people are feeling. You'll see when the games get played. What are we going to see that we haven't seen from Mike McCarthy? What are we going to see with this Steelers roster? Defense hasn't been great. DK Metcalf is not your true number one. What are we going to see? I mean, this is just some nauseating stuff. And you're Steeler Nation. You don't come watch them for free. You're a paying customer. You haven't won a playoff game since 2016. Steeler fans don't deserve better than this? From what Art Rooney II bloviated about? Like you're supposed to have faith in him? They're 0-6 since he's been running the team in the postseason. You got a GM in Omar Khan that's giving you a defense that spent over $160 million. $160 million. And they weren't that good. You let Pickens walk out the door and become a cowboy. What are we talking about here? What are we really, really talking about? So to me, I'm not happy about this at all. Let me be very, very clear about that. I'm not happy about this at all. I wasn't happy about college football staying with a 12-team playoff. I want them to go up to 16 to 20 teams personally, but that's a different story for later on in the show. But nothing ticked me off more than the Steelers and Art Rooney's statement were very, very dismissive of Steeler Nation. Very dismissive. What have you given them to really, really care about? Mike McCarthy is a damn good coach. You know what he's good enough to do? Keep you mediocre. So we'll go and we'll finish 9-8, or we'll finish 10-7. We'll be middle of the road. So we ain't going to be good enough to compete for a championship, but we're not going to suck enough to position ourselves high in the draft so we can get a quarterback finally. Instead of having to beg a 42-year-old to come back or hope that Will Howard will develop so we don't have to look at Mason Rudolph as a savior. I mean, you got to be kidding me. This is what they've done. This is what they've done. Steelers have the entire offseason. The Steel City has the entire offseason to think about the Steelers moving forward. And they have the entire offseason to remind themselves there's nothing intriguing about this hire. More the same. You're going to let Mike Tomlin walk out the door. You don't replace him with no Mike McCarthy. Find another Mike Tomlin who had big-time success before 2016 and never had a losing season in his 19-year career. 888 Mad Dog, takes the number to call up. This 888-623-3646. Last point before I go to commercial break. If you look on the list, NFL head coaches, there were 10 openings. 7 have been filled. The Giants hired John Harbaugh. The Dolphins hired Jeff Hafley, defensive coordinator out of Green Bay. The Titans hired Robert Saleh, Lebanese descent, defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, former head coach for the New York Jets. The Falcons hired former Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. The Ravens hired Jesse Minter. The Steelers, as you saw, were McCarthy. Minter used to be in Baltimore years ago before he departed and was serving as a defensive coordinator in the Chargers. And now you got McCarthy and now Joe Brady. Ladies and gentlemen, there's 3 hires to fill: Arizona, Cleveland, and Las Vegas. We can debate whether or not Deion Sanders needs to be the next head coach for the Cleveland Browns, if you like. Here's the big things I need y'all to understand. There's only one non-white coach that was hired. Of the 7 openings, 6 were filled by white men, and 1 was filled by a non-white individual of Lebanese descent, Robert Saleh. Not a single black coach was hired. And in the year 2025, decades after the Rooney Rule was inserted and implemented, and it was supposed to be so folks could get a fair shake and a fair shot, there are now 3 black head coaches in the National Football League. 3. That's it. Just 3. And so I look at it from that standpoint, and it's not really a good feeling. Now, I know there's some people out there that's listening on the radio, and I just, recently heard somebody called up to complain to Sirius XM because I brought that up. I want to be the first to say I could give less than a damn. It ain't too many black radio hosts, particularly in prime positions like I am. And when I notice the paucity of African-American coaches, I'm going to say something about it. I'm not going to belabor it. I'm not going to spend 2 hours or 2 weeks on it or anything like that. But I am going to mention it because there's a lot of qualified black coaches in the profession. And they're not the ones getting the opportunity. And what really stands out in my mind is, dare I say, the word nepotism. Because as I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I've got my researchers putting some notes together, okay? Some of the top remaining head coaching candidates outside of Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator in Denver, there's still a lot of nepotism. How would I say this? Where would this come from? These coaches are damn good, and if they get the job, they deserve it. I understand it. I'm not questioning their qualifications at all. I'm just simply pointing out the discrepancy. One of the big-time coaching candidates is Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula. He happens to be Don Shula's grandson, the late, great coach of the Miami Dolphins, a great coach of the Miami Dolphins, I'm sorry. Coach Dan Marino's a boy. Coach Bob Greasy coached the undefeated season in 1972, all of that stuff. His father's David Shula, who was the head coach of the Bengals at one time. You know Matt LaFleur, the head coach for the Green Bay Packers? Did you know his brother is the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, who just lost in the NFC title game? Did a damn good job, by the way. But he's a coaching candidate for the job. And, of course, Seattle's offensive coordinator is a guy by the name of Clint Kubiak. That happens to be Gary Kubiak's son, former head coach for the Denver Broncos. Just pointing that out. All three of those guys deserve consideration. And if they end up getting the job, I want to be the first to say, congratulations. But that will be 10 openings. And not a single African American will have been hired. In the year 2025, I'd like to be the first to say that's alarming. No Brian Flores, no Vance Joseph, no Anthony Weaver with the Dolphins, no prime time. Just a thought. Just a thought. 888 Mad Dog 6 is always the number to call up. That's 888-623-3646.